Welcome everyone, back at it. Chart's been screwed up on the weekend, so haven't been doing much. So I'll have to change the time I do it. Normally I do these weekly Forex forecasts, 11 o'clock Friday night, record it, but charts have been all screwed up around that time, not loading properly, taking a while to load, all that kind of stuff. You switch charts, they're real laggy, so I'll just switch the times that I'm going to start recording the weekly Forex forecast. All right, let's get into it. Risk disclaimer. Read it over. And let's go. All right, so let's get started here. Get back in the groove of things. Uh, S&P 500. So here's a list of the setups that we're going to be trading. Um, Overbought, oversold 8s, 21s, 34s, 89s, 200. If you guys been following my channel, you probably already know this. Um, we like trading overbought, oversold 34Bs. Typically, your lower time frame will be bouncing off of 200, and your higher time frame will be trending above the 8. So, whichever time frames you use, if you use for this sake, we'll use the 8-hour chart, the daily chart, and the 3-day chart. So for swing traders, that's pretty much perfect. 8-hour, daily, and 3-day. We'll go over all these setups, and each chart we'll look at, we'll see if we have any of these setups. We'll also look for double tops and double bottoms. Double tops and double bottoms around the 200 are particularly good. Failed double tops and double bottoms at the 200. We'll get into that. Patterns, flats, running flats, zigzags. Is it a 1 3 5 7 9 11 swing sequence? All right. Structure, 1 3 5 7 9 11 swing sequences after a breaker structure. These are all the things we're going to be looking at. Inside divergence, quarterly pivots. All right. And of course, this system here is not going to work without risk management right here. All right. So this system's not going to work if you don't manage risk. Um, and we'll go over all of this on every pair that we look at, and you'll get a good idea of what's going on. So S&P 500, you got a double bottom off the 89. We're on the daily chart. These arrows up here are basically just bullish bearish closes above the 8. I'll show you a trick to using these. I'll show you a couple things you can do. It'll help you count the waves. But S&P 500, do you have a sell setup, right? This isn't a sell setup. You gotta, there's nothing to do right now, right? You're not buying this. You don't have a buy setup, and you don't want to sell this picking the top. Dow. If we go to the Dow, we are still looking for this pattern wise. We're looking for the move down. I will hide these indicators, and we're still looking for a move down. You got a double top. You are sitting up here at your midpoint quarterly pivot. That's this gray line up here. So you got a double top at your quarterly pivot. If you wanted to be super aggressive and take a double top at the quarterly pivot, that was your trade 2 days ago. There's nothing to do now. What we want to do is wait for a lower high to sell, to find out if we're going to get this impulse down to the 618. So there's nothing to do right now on the daily chart. Of course, there's stuff to do on the lower time frames, but the structures change too much. And if I dive down to the 1 hour and the 4 hour, the structures could change 2-3 times in a day. So we'll stick with the daily charts for right now. All right, and the Nasdaq, there's nothing to do. You are sitting. It looks like Nasdaq wants to climb up to its quarterly R1, but you don't have a sell setup. You don't have a buy setup, right? So right here, your last daily trade setup was basically, we would call this a double bottom off the 200 with inside divergence right here, and this would have been your buy trigger on the daily chart. There's nothing to do now. You're not buying and you're not selling on the Nasdaq. We go to oil, and I'll go right back to Nasdaq real quick. Um, See, you're getting this double bottom with divergence off the daily chart right here, right? So, and then if we jump up a time frame to the 3-day chart, what do you have? An oversold 34B. Here's your trigger candle, close above the 8, right? So this is the fractal bounce. That's what I'm talking about with the, you compare time frames. If your higher time frames also bullish and bouncing off a key EMA, it's a great trade. So 3-day, you were up here. Now here's a trick I'll show you with the we'll go back to this for a second. What do we mean when we're talking about patterns and we talk about a 1 3 5 7 9 11 swing sequence? Talking about this right here, and this is what these arrows can help you do. I'll show you a trick. You can use the parabolic saw as well with 1 2 3 4 5. This would be a 5 swing sequence. After a 5 swing sequence, all right, you have a potential impulse. Now you also had a 3 swing sequence right here. So here's a three swing sequence. 1 2 3, impulse should go. So this would also be a buy setup that you would have had got stopped out on. But then it turns into a 5 swing sequence, and the next arrow is impulsive. So that's what we're talking about. 1 3 5 7 9 11 swing sequence, and also 1 3 5 7 9 11 after break of structure. So we'll dive into some more. Is there anything to do right now? No. Back down to the daily chart. All right. And when we look at the daily chart and we come back to this same correction that we saw on the 3-day, it was 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 9 swing sequence down to the 200. Bouncing off the 200, here's your trigger bar right here. Oversold 200B. And we come back to our list of setups. Your overbought, oversold 200B is a buy setup. All right. As your higher time frame is bouncing off a key EMA as well. So that's all past in the past though. So we'll look forward now. Is there anything to do on Nasdaq right now? No, there is not. Let's go to oil. Do we have anything on oil? Not really. All right, we've got some divergence here. If we get a close above the 8, you will have a divergence entry right here and coming off of your midpoint. Now when we jump to our higher time frame, when we jump to our 3-day chart, do we have a reason to buy that divergence? Not really. See how our EMAs are all squished together? Do we have any kind of patterns we can recognize? Not really. All right, we have an impulse down, and then we have these moves are all contracting. You have a move up, move down that doesn't break the low, move up that doesn't break the high, and this thing could go either way. So right now, all you have is a potential bullish divergence entry off your midpoint. Outside of that, I don't see too much. Too many patterns to draw up, and nothing very high probable. It's not saying you can't take the divergence trade and see what happens. Gold. We're on gold daily chart. We got a double top off of our quarterly R2. If you were going to take a shot and sell a double top off the quarterly R2, it was 2 days ago. was your chance. And we also have inside divergence on the higher time frame. So we jump out to our 3-day chart and we got inside divergence here on the 3-day chart coming off of your quarterly R2. All right, so your next stop you're looking for, we're looking for sell setups down to our 3-day 34, which is about 100 pips below you. All right, so back down to the daily chart. Do we have a sell setup? Right, we got a double top at our quarterly R2. We could pull back to our 3-day 34, which would also be our, right, you got your daily 89 and your daily 200. All right, so we need a sell setup. We don't have a sell setup yet. You could have took a shot 2 days ago. Now you got to wait for a lower high to sell. All right, so there's nothing to do on the daily chart. I want to emphasize that on the daily chart. If you're down in the 1 hour and the 4 hour, obviously you're going to be bearish. If you want to take sell setups, you can. We're just going to focus on the daily chart for right now. Silver. Pattern wise, let's jump up to the 3-day chart and we'll go over this pattern real quick. I'll hide these indicators. And what do we have pattern wise on silver? We have an impulse up right here. We have an impulse up. All right. And then we have a 3-wave correction down. All right. So you got an impulse up, a 3-wave correction down. And then we get this move up. You also have another 3-wave correction that's tagging the 100 and the 123.6 now. So question becomes, pattern wise, we have an A, we have a B wave up here that breaks the high, and we are now looking for a C wave down. All right, and typically the first target we'll target is the 618. So we're looking for an impulsive move down to the 618 or the 100 of wave A. All right. Now, this is analysis. We don't have a sell setup for this yet. So we're looking for an impulse down. Now, you could play around up here for a while and then wind up going. All right, give you something like this. So we are looking for a move back down to the 618 of wave A. Right, if you're going to get continuation, you're sitting at your 123.6 now. So the next stop, if this thing's going to continue to go higher, it's going to be the 1618. All right, so your next stop is 35.33. Typically, it'll throw you a correction right here. All right, so you're going to have a buy setup at your daily, right? You're going to have a buy setup. We're on the 3-day chart. You'll have a buy setup to take up to the 1618. All right, but if that starts to fail, at your daily, you're going to be at your daily 200 at that point. If that starts to fail, guess what? You're coming back down. So you're going to have a couple trades in a row. Step out to the daily chart and we'll put our indicators back on. All right, so expect some sideways action. You can take a buy setup up to the 618. If that fails down here and starts to roll over, you're coming back down to the 618 or the 100. Now, with that being said, you don't have a buy setup yet or a sell setup. All right, there is no setup right now. You just have a bounce off the 123.6, and you're way overextended. You're way past your quarterly R2. So we can take sell setups. We don't have them yet, though. Copper. All right, it's the same thing with copper. If we jump out to the daily chart here, 3-day chart, and take our indicators off, copper's probably making a big flat correction right here. We should be getting a big C wave down. All right, so we can take sell setups, but again, we don't have one right yet. So copper, we don't have a sell setup yet. Put the indicators back on. That's just this is just pattern stuff. We're drawing the simplest, most probable pattern we can see. This is your A wave down. You have an ABC for your B wave and another wave down. So copper will wait for a double bottom to fail off of the 34, right? Because you're going to get a bounce right here. If that makes a lower high, then you're going to have a sell setup. Same thing on silver and stuff. So there's nothing to do right now. Dollar index. What do we have? Zoom in here. Dollar index. You're getting ready. This is a buy setup. This is a 200 bounce. And when we jump up to the 3-day chart, we zoom in a little more. You're oversold. You're bouncing off your 34. You're bullish on your 3-day chart. We step down to the daily chart. What are we looking for? This is a buy setup. This is a buy trigger. You could buy this now, and you don't want to put a stop below this low. All right. So what I like to do is figure out my risk. I want to see a bearish close below that level, and then I'll exit. All right. You don't want to put a stop directly below this low. You want to give it room to make the double bottom off of the 200, and your next higher time frame is bouncing off the 34. All right, so dollar is bullish. It doesn't have to make this double bottom. This could actually keep going right now. A lot of times you will get a double bottom off of the 200. So, which is why if you take this entry, you want to see a solid close below this low. All right, and you got to manage your risk accordingly to do that. So, dollar, we're looking for bullishness. We know it could potentially make a double bottom off the 200. And if it does that, it's going to be a great buy setup. So you're in a buy setup right now. This is a bullish 200B. As your next higher time frame is also oversold, bouncing off the 34. It's buy setup all the way. It's as simple as that. So euro, what do we have? Jump down to the daily chart. You're actually getting a buy setup right now, and you don't have any trend though, right? When we step out to the next higher time frame, you're getting a 30 another trade on the daily chart. But when you look at this 3-day chart, let me get rid of these pivots, just to kind of clean it up some, right? When you look at this 3-day chart, there's no trend. You're completely sideways. You have a series of lower high, lower high, lower high. So now there's a chance that euro dollar just keeps doing this, right? And works its way on down to come after these lows, just making all of this right here a running flat for downside. All right, you got an A, you got a B, you got a C, back down to these lows. So back down to the daily chart, pattern wise, I see the high probable trade is to the downside for euro dollar. Now, again, you don't have a trend, and you're getting a 34 bounce right here, but your 89 and your 200 aren't trending. Your next trade looks like you want to at least come retest these tops, but me personally, I would be looking for a reversal up here, maybe something with some inside divergence, right? You come back up to these tops, and then you get a bearish engulfing candle like this, and price gives you divergence like this. So you got divergence. Now you got a double top at a potential lower high, and you're coming back down to retest these lows. Now, does that mean you can't take? You could take this buy setup, but remember your higher time frame's not trending. You're coming up against a series of lower highs. So even though you're going to be getting a bullish setup on the daily chart, It's not the best. It's not the most high probable. It doesn't mean you can't take it, because you could take it. There's trades I see that are 5-star trades that I feel really good about that don't work out. Trades that, right, you got no trend and you're just playing within a series of internal highs and lows. You could get a rip and come take out these highs. All right, you could come take out these highs. So you're getting a buy setup. You don't have a trigger right now. Let me clear all this off. Right, so, and if we zoom out here, there is no, the clearest pattern you have is this right here being a running flat. And we get an impulse down like this. All right, and you're just making a big correction, right? Correcting this impulse, and then this thing right here turns into a flat correction, correcting this impulse, and then we get that impulse down. You're just making a larger flat. So, all right, that this to me is the most high probable pattern, which is why I would like to take a double top with divergence or something, or something along those lines. So we don't have a sell set up yet. And let's clear this off. All right, what if we come break this high? What are the odds that this is all the correction? All right, what are the odds? Here's your impulse. What are the odds this is a 3-wave ABC right here? You got a 3-wave ABC. And we're coming to, we're staying in this degree to take out this high, making all of this a flat. Making this a flat right here. All right. This is the other possibility. And then we get that wave down. So you can take this daily buy setup. Again, we don't have it yet. So 8-hour chart. If you want to drop down to the 8-hour chart and stick a buy order above this high, if you get triggered, your stop goes below the low. If this low gets taken out, right, then we revert back to the bearish pattern of this here. We revert to the running flat. So that's how you could trade it on the 8-hour chart. You could put a buy order above the high with a stop below the low. And if you get stopped out, it's also going to be a sell setup. You're probably going to have a double top up here. You're probably going to have divergence, all right? Lower high, lower high, lower high, running flat, impulse down to come retest these lows. That is euro dollar, all right? CAD, you want buys all the way in CAD. This is actually a buy setup. You got an 89B buy setup and you're getting a pullback. CAD is actually, if you want to pull the trigger at the 50 with a stop, you want to not put a stop below this low. You want to see an impulsive close below this low. All right. You want to see an impulsive close below this low to get out of the trade. CAD's a buy setup all the way. If we step up to the 3-day chart, you're getting oversold. You're bouncing off your 34. This thing's ready to go. CAD will be taking out these highs here. All right. You're getting ready to come take out these highs. And we could even come take out, let's jump up to the weekly chart. We could even start to come after these highs up here. All right, you got this double top up here on the weekly. And I've been saying this for a while. You want buys in CAD all the way. All right, back down to the 3-day chart. 3-day chart is just correcting, and you're getting ready to be oversold, bouncing off your 34. This is bullish. And daily chart, what do we have? We have a 1, a 2, a 3 swing sequence down to the 89. Here's a buy setup. This should be an impulsive move, all right? So we're looking for a double bottom now off the 89. If we get another down candle right here, we're going to have another arrow up here. All right, this now becomes a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swing sequence. And we absolutely want to take our next bullish engulfing close above the 8 down here. All right, so it's a little tricky because you want to buy down here. You could be in a buy right here, and you got to just manage the risk accordingly. So CAD, you're looking for buys all the way. If we come down to the 200, you're going to have a 5 swing sequence as your higher time frames bouncing off the 34 and oversold, and you're looking for an impulse up to come take out these highs at 139. Dollar CAD, you want buys all the way. You could pull the trigger now, and if price closes below here, just dump it. I mean, there's a number of ways to play it. So, number of ways to play this thing. 8 hours doing what? Bouncing off the 200. All right. So you could you could wait for an 8 hour close back above the 8. All right. So if you want to follow the 8 hour charts, it's another way to do it. I mean, you want buys in this all the way. This is a great trade setup. If we come down any lower, like I said, we're gonna have a 5 swing sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We jump back up to the chart here with the picture, and we're gonna have what? 5 swing sequence down to the 200 as our higher time frames oversold, bouncing off the 34 bullish. All right, we're gonna have a 5 swing sequence at that point. And you're looking to go. So it's bullish setups all the way. Bullish setups all the way in dollar CAD, dollar Swiss. You're in the process of getting a very nice 3-day signal. All right. This is a 3-day signal, and we just need to see a close above here. Well, you will close above here. So you're inside of a 3-day signal coming off of your 21. Looks like you want to come after this high up here. Coming after this high. All right. And daily chart. This was your last buy setup. It was simply an oversold 34B. And this is what I mean, how you want to, right? Now, we never got to close above the 8, so you wouldn't have bought right here. But this is a double bottom off the 34, all right? We jump down to the 8-hour chart, and you have what? A double bottom down here off the 200. Here's your buy setup for that. And you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swing sequence down to the 200. As your higher time frame, it's bouncing off the 34. Buy setup on the daily chart. So back down to the 8-hour chart. You want to buy this. You're looking for buys all the way in dollar Swiss. Now, can it throw you one more down right here and make basically a double bottom? Just make a larger correction. It can, but that's trading, that's managing risk. You're looking for buy setups all the way. You're not looking for sell setups. So 4-hour chart. I know I said I wouldn't go 4-hour, but you could put a buy order above here, stop below here. Buy order goes here. Stop goes below the low of the structure. If you get stopped out, you're going to be looking to buy again down here at your 8-hour 200 down there. All right. You're going to be looking to buy a double bottom off your 8-hour 200. Potentially it'll have divergence. All right. So dollar Swiss, you're looking for buy setups all the way, and you're inside of a 3-day signal. All right. You're inside of, I'll clear all this off. You're inside a 3-day bullish signal. That's that. Aussie dollar. 3-day chart. We're bouncing off the 200. We're oversold. This is bearish on Aussie dollar. Now I'll jump down to. We thought this was going to go. Pretty much the last video I put up, we thought this was going to come retest these lows down here. It stops short and you get a move up. Let's go over this. I'll hide these indicators. Pattern wise, what do we have on Aussie dollar? See this? You got an expanded flat right here in the middle. You're making an expanded flat. So all it did was make a three-wave structure down. For a B wave, you got an A, you got a B, C with expanded flat in the middle, and here's your A wave right here. All right, 1, 2, 3. 3 waves up, 3 waves down, 5 waves, C wave up. All right, you got an A, you got a B, you got a C for an expanded flat. You made an expanded flat in the middle of your B wave, and now you just made an expanded flat altogether, and we're getting ready for an impulse down. All right, we are looking for an impulse down to come retest these lows now. And we're looking at this as an expanded flat right now. Now, can it get more complex and more complex? It can, but as of right now, the simplest pattern would be this is your impulse down. This is an expanded flat, and we're looking for another impulse down to come after these lows. With that being said, do you have a sell setup? No. Let's put our indicators back on here for a second. All right. Do you have a sell setup? No, because you're coming into an oversold 34B. All right. So you're looking for this 34B to start to fail, and then that would be your sell setup, right? If you wanted to pick a top up here, I mean, you could do that as well. If you're trading strictly to pattern, right? You got to move up to the 1618. You got an A, you got a B, up to the 1618. Here's your sell setup if you want to sell and assume if this pattern is playing out, then you want to wait. You're selling and you're in it until you get a bullish close above that level. Remember, you don't want to put a stop one tick above it because price can absolutely just come back up here and then close below that level, right? And you wind up closing under here, and you got a big wick up here, right? And then you wind up just shooting down. So, but going by our EMAs, we don't have a bearish setup, all right? The bearish setup is in the pattern itself, where you'd just be picking a top right here at the 1618, looking for the impulse down. EMA wise, you have a bullish 34B that needs to fail before we can enter on this chart, right? And when we step up to the 3-day chart, we're coming up against our 200. All right, so we're looking, and you're overbought at this point, coming up against your 200. And we're looking for downside, so we're looking for sell setups. Just be patient. We don't have them yet. You jumped in. If you want to take a sell setup on the 8-hour, you don't have it yet, right? You would need a double bottom or something to fail at that point. So if you create a double bottom down here off the 89 and then that starts to fail, that's your sell setup. Until then, you just have bullish 89, bullish oversold 89s with your daily chart bouncing off the 34 being oversold. So we got to see if this next swing up makes a lower high, makes a double top, right? Gives you divergence, something like that. Now, if you wanted to take the buy on this time frame, you could take the buy on the time frame. It just, there's no pattern that really goes along with it. Could we say that, could we be in this impulse up right here? All right, and this is all the correction. You have an A, you have a B, and then you have a 3-wave structure down C. Could this be all the correction? And we're getting ready to come retest these highs now, right? Just making a bigger flat right here. And right, could we be getting ready to do this? Come take out these highs, making an A, a B, a C. We could. So if you want to take buy setups here, you can. But if they start to fail, get out, because remember, the pattern is this could be an expanded flat in the middle with downside, and your higher time frame is still bearish. So that is Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar, I would rather buy New Zealand dollar because New Zealand dollar had a zigzag right here, right? perfect zigzag down to the 100, right? We come down to the 100, tags the 100, and you're on your way up. So New Zealand has more of a high probable bullish setup to come take out these highs, because you have a complete A, B, C zigzag, and you're looking for come take out these highs, right? And you could stay in this degree all the way up. So if I was going to buy against the dollar, I'd probably do it in New Zealand to find out if we're going to come take out these highs, 63.70. Excuse me. You're just waiting for a daily overbought 34B. Now, you'll notice that you're bouncing off your 8 here. You've been above the 8 now for like a number of days on the daily chart. When we step down to the 8-hour chart, these are 34Bs, right? Here's an oversold 21B, oversold 34B. You're getting another oversold 34B down here. So, and you have a 1 and a 2. So, if we get something like this down here, you're going to have a 1, a 2, a 3 swing sequence on the 8-hour chart. So you can go ahead and take a shot on bullish engulfing candle on the 8-hour chart after a 3 swing sequence. All right. To find out if we're going to stay in this degree. Find out if we're going to stay in this degree all the way up to come take out these highs on daily chart. Find out if this is a flat, right? And then when we jump up a time frame to the 3-day chart, what do we have? What is the larger pattern, right? Because here's a wave down. You have a 3-wave structure, an A, a B, a C, expanded flat in the middle. Same pattern that Aussie is making right now. This is the same pattern. So, and then this is the impulse down we're looking for on Aussie. So, right. But if New Zealand's going to come take out this high, you have an A wave down here. A. This becomes your B. And then at this point up here, we'll be looking for C wave down. And you're just doing nothing but making a large correction at that point, correcting this impulse. All right, correcting this impulse up. Impulse up, A, B, C. Now, so if I'm going to buy anything, it is going to be New Zealand. All right, because like I said, pattern-wise, I can see a clear bullish pattern coming to break these highs. All right, and I'll clear all this off now. Bearish. Do we have any bearish patterns? If we're going to make a bearish pattern, it would more than likely just be something like this. I could see us making like a 3-wave structure, and then a move back up, and then we get that, and then we get the impulse down. I think you would have to make a large flat right here to where the Australian dollar, let's go back to the Australian dollar, already has a complete correction, right? Potential complete A, B, C, and we could get an impulse down. So also when we take a look at the Aussie New Zealand, it looks bearish. So it looks like New Zealand's going to be stronger than Aussie, which is why I would like to take sells in Aussie. If we get a sell setup, you can look for buys in New Zealand if we get buy setups. And that's how I would play that. Pound. Clear all these. Let me clear this off. What do we have on pound? All right. Pattern wise, do we have anything on pound? And when we look at pound, here's our high up here. We have an impulse down, and then everything's kind of right. You're contracting. Let's zoom in. Now you just ran into the 100 of this 3-wave structure right here. All right. Well, you're coming up to the 100. You're coming up to the 100 of this structure. And in this pattern, you pretty much have 2 options, because you have this impulse down, you got another impulse up, doesn't come take out these highs. So more than likely, you're going to see something like this in pound. And you're making a flat right here, more than likely. The clearest pattern we have on pound is to the downside. And you're looking for a correction that kind of looks like this, right? And then you're going to get this wave down. Flat correction, Remove this. Now you're just making a big flat right here, and you're in the B part of it. You're in the B wave part of it, and then from this point, you probably get an impulse up. Come take out these highs. Now what? This just becomes, you're in the B process. You're just building out one large flat. This whole thing becomes a flat. Step out to the 3-day chart, and right, you're looking for something like this to where you're just correcting this. You're inside of this impulse down. All right, and then you get this move down. Now you got a flat correction for this impulse up. So you're in a B wave, you're contracting. Your next immediate pattern probably looks like you're building out some kind of a flat right here. All right, you're building out some kind of a flat right here. Can we continue up, right? Would it be any kind of pattern if we just start going up? And I'm not seeing it other than like a running flat or something, right? So you come up here and then you start doing this and you're building out a running flat to where you get something along these lines where that wave just becomes a running flat, an A, a B, a C to come retest these highs up here. So pound back down to the daily chart. We'll put our indicators on, and do we have a buy setup? Do we have a buy setup right now on pound? No. You're above the 8, and let's jump up to our 3-day chart. 3-day chart. Do we have a buy setup? No. Your EMAs are all mushed together. You don't have nothing bullish. You're overbought on your higher time frame, so you don't have a trend at all. Which is why Which is why the clearest pattern is the one I drew, because you don't have a trend. You're overbought on the 3-day chart, and it looks like you're just in a messy B wave. So you're looking for something along these lines, right? You're looking for a flat correction right here, and a move down, like, right? You're looking for just sideways corrections, which is why I believe this is probably the most high probable. Now, with that being said, you've got, let's go to the daily chart. All right. You don't have a sell setup, right? We don't have a sell setup for this wave down. So will we get a setup right here? Who knows? This is just forecasting a high probable pattern setting up on pound. We don't have a sell setup. We don't have a buy setup. All right. Was this a buy setup? No, it wasn't. It wasn't a buy setup. Was this a buy setup? Absolutely not. Because you're not bouncing off anything on your higher time frame. If you were running into maybe an 89 or a 200 or a 34 on a higher time frame, you could take it. So all this was a pattern completion. You measure this impulse down to right here, and you run into the 100 of, right, a zigzag. So it's a complete zigzag. If you were buying down here, you were buying the 100 on pattern completion, and all you have now is another 3 waves up. That's about to tag the 100. All right. So we measure this to here. You're about to tag the 100. Do you want to take a sell set up here? You could. Maybe the same thing happens as down here. All right, you tag the 100 and you rip. If you want to sell this 100 to find out if you're going to get a 3-wave structure down to the bottom, you can do that. And that is that. So we covered Aussie, covered Swiss, covered CAD, covered Euro, Yen. There's not really much to do, right? You put your quarterly pivots are up here at this high. At this point, it looks like you're retesting this high. I don't see much to do in Yen. So that is that. And so that's pretty much most of the cross. I guess we'll zip through some of these crosses real quick. All right. Aussie CAD daily chart. Do we have anything? No. We got a buy setup coming. You don't have it yet. All right. Close below the 8. You're about to get like an oversold 34B. You can go ahead and take it. You don't have a signal yet Aussie Swiss, do you have anything? Now you're coming down and you're looking for your next trade's a 34B. You don't have anything yet. You are coming up against your, let me throw pivots back on. Show you where we're at here, big picture. If I can find my pivots. Where they at here? There we go. All right. And if we jump up to a 3-day chart here, you can see you're coming up against your 200 and your pivot point. So, right, this is going to be a nice sell area. I like this area as a reaction point on Aussie Swiss. Now, I don't know if it's going to be right. You're looking for a reaction and a move down. That'll be an impulse on your higher time frame, right? So we're getting a buy setup. Maybe the buy setup takes us up into here. If we get divergence or something along those lines, you want to pick a top up here. I think it's a good area to look for an impulse down maybe to your daily 200. All right. So I think we can get a move like that. That's all you'd be looking for. You'd be looking for a move like this to trade below the 8 down to about the daily 200. You're taking profit. And that's kind of the next trade. Now you are getting a buy setup. You could take this buy setup, but you're coming against your quarterly R2. All right. So you want a good entry, right? You want the entry to be good, and you want to at least make sure you can get like a 1.5 to 1 up to here, up to your quarterly R2. All right, that is that. Now it does, like I said, you can go past it. It's rare you do, but Aussie Yen is past it. You're getting another buy setup. You don't have a sell setup yet. You don't have divergence, right? So there will be a time to sell this. It's not right now. You're getting another buy setup. All right. See if you get another oversold 34B. You got 34B here, 34B here, 34B here, 89B, double bottom off the 200, probably in the 8-hour chart. All right, 200, 200. So you're coming down now. Let's go to Aussie New Zealand. Aussie New Zealand, jump up to the 3-day chart, and all this, you could potentially be coming back down to these lows. All right, on the 3-day chart, you got nice inside divergence right here at the top, and I like this for downside. You're just you're waiting for a double bottom to fail down here at the 200. Back to this, right? You're looking for a failed double bottom at the 200. You get a failed double bottom at the 200. This becomes a nice sell to come retest these lows pattern wise. Now it's not trend. It's nice when both line up, but pattern wise we could come after these lows. So if this starts to fail, that is bearish. You will have a bearish EMA set up at that point, but that is that. CAD Swiss. All right. Now daily chart. You have 1, you have 2, you have 3, you have 4, you have 5 swing sequence. And this is 6, right? The impulse should go now because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swing sequence bouncing off of your 34. But when you jump up to your higher top frame, all right, you're going to be running into your 200, your quarterly R1, and I like this reaction point up here. Let it get up here. All right, you're inside of a 3-day signal. This to me just looks like a correction up to the 200. So you're getting a buy setup. Any move like this, and this now becomes a 7 swing sequence, right? If you get a move down like this, now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swing sequence. And then you want to take your next bullish engulfing close above the 8 on up to, right, your 3-day 200 and your, right, that would be your trade. That'd be all you're looking for. You'd be taking this to run it up to here and probably take profit up here. So because at this point you're bouncing off your quarterly R1 and your 3-day 200. All right, so but there's nothing to do right now. I probably, if I was right, even though this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swing sequence, I would not take this next. I like it to be oversold, right? So if this comes on down here, now I don't like this pair to the upside anyway. I'm just trying to show you examples. If you come down here and it gives you a 7 swing sequence oversold off the 89. All right, now you got a bullish engulfing close above the 8. 7 swing sequence, move up to here, and then that's your buy. So, is there anything to do right now? Not really. CAD yen. Again, you're coming up to your quarterly R2. These levels are typically hold, right? So, I am looking for a double top up. I'm looking for sell setups up here at the quarterly R2. So, we're not there yet. There's nothing to do in CAD yen. Swiss yen. All right, Swiss yen is giving you a sell setup in the lower time frames. You drop down to the 4 hour, and this is actually a nice sell setup. So I got to sell below this low just in case if this is a flat correction, and we're going to drop. All right, so now you want to put it to break even because it can just make a 3-wave structure like this, and we're right back up. You're bouncing right, and it's basically a 4-hour 200 trade. So it's a trade you kind of want to move to break even. It is risky, but I like picking a top up here on Swiss yen. All right, because of where we're at. And this kind of looks corrective to me, and it had a couple chances to go and hasn't yet on the daily chart. So that's why I like having an order below here. But daily chart, do we have a sell setup? Not yet. 8 hours. All right, 8-hour chart. Here's what I mean when we count the waves. Let's look at this again. This is a great example. All right. Patterns 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. After the 3, right? After you have 3, the next move should be an impulse. After you have 5, the next move should be an impulse. All right. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3. All right. We got a 3-wave sequence right here. A 1, 2, 3. So we got a 3-wave sequence. 1, 2, 3. This next close below the 8 should be impulsive right here. So you're waiting for a close below the 8, and you got a pattern. And this thing already had a couple chances to go, and then which is why it also becomes a failed 200B at that point on the 4-hour chart, right? Well, 89, you're on the 4-hour. We jump down to the 1 hour. You're probably sitting on the 200, right? Now you're on the 1-hour 200. You got a failed double bottom coming off the 200 on the 1-hour chart. All right, which is bearish and in a spot where structure looks like downside. So back to the 8-hour chart. Zoom in. Any 8-hour close below the 8 is going to, any bearish close below the 8, right? You want to see something like this. That's going to be a nice sell setup to find out if you're going to get an impulsive move down to the 200. When it gets down to 200, put it to break even. Nice trade setup right there. Euro walls. Right, we're on the 8-hour chart. Let's jump up to the daily. Here's where you want to buy a failed double top at the 200. I'm just giving you examples of stuff that could set up, right? If you get a double top off the 200 up here that starts to fail on the daily chart, and you get a bullish engulfing candle like this on the 8-hour chart, why do you want to buy that? You want to buy that because when you jump up to the 3-day chart, right, you're oversold, you're down here, you're bouncing off your 89 and your 200, and right, this is all correction. You're correcting. So if you get a setup, you're looking to come out of this structure. All right, you're oversold, you're bullish on your higher time frame, and when we look at the daily chart, daily's actually bears too, though. So this is one you can trade both ways. So you are oversold. Clear this off. You could still make another low. We could take out these lows. So yeah, any close like this is a 34B, but you're running into an oversold on your higher time frame, right? It is a trade you could take, though. It is a trade we will take. So your next trade, you're waiting on that, and then at that point you'd be seeing if this double bottom gets taken out on this next swing down, right? On this next swing down. you'd be looking for that. EuroCAD. Not much. You don't have a buy setup, right? You're bullish, but you don't have a buy setup. You're waiting for another 34B. I'll zip through the rest of these real quick. Euro Swiss. Do you have anything? No, right? You're above the 8. You've been above the 8. Time to take some profit. You're waiting for your next setup. Euro Pound. You're waiting for your next setup. You're breaking structure, and you had a double top up here off the 200. I called a double top off 200. Here was your entry, and you're still in that trade. Euro yen. Again, you're coming up against extreme levels up here. It's not a reason to sell or pick a top, but if we get a close below the 8, divergence, something along those lines, something to sell, we can sell because we're at an extreme. We're just waiting on a setup. Euro New Zealand. Nothing to do. Nothing to do right now. You're waiting on a signal. Euro Oz, we already covered that. Euro ZAR. I do like this trade here, right? Because you're coming up. Let's jump up to the higher time frame on Euro ZAR. You're coming up against an extreme and the 200 down here. You're oversold on a 3-day. This is all correction right here. And you're coming up against an extreme. You're looking for another impulse up. All right, let's jump up to the weekly chart. What do we have right here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 swing sequence coming up against our weekly 89 and an extreme pivot. All right, so our next weekly close above the 8 could very well be impulsive because we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swing sequence. All right, so we're just waiting on a weekly close above the 8. Now, do you want to anticipate that weekly close on the lower time frame? You could take this buy setup. It's not a buy setup according to the EMAs, right? Because you don't have a bullish setup. You would have to jump down to the 8-hour chart, right? And you're waiting for like an 8-hour higher low to buy at that point. So that is how you would trade that. You don't have a buy setup though yet. All right, so just wait. Maybe it comes down, tags this quarterly S2 one more time, we'll see. But if it makes a higher low, you're looking to buy. What happens if you make a double top up here at the 200 and it starts to fail, right? What happens if we get a nice double top up here to sell on the 8-hour chart, right? You're selling a double top. You got your quarterly R2 down here. But then right after that, right, now you get a bullish engulfing close right back above the 8. Now you got a failed double top at your 200, right? Coming off your quarterly pivot, your weekly 89, right? And you're anticipating that weekly move. You could take that anticipation with a setup like this on the 8-hour chart. So you would enter this 8-hour candle anticipating this weekly impulse up, right? After a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swing sequence on the weekly chart. So that is that. Pound Oz, you're in buy setup. Same thing. You just got a weekly close above the 8. You're oversold. You're bouncing off your 89. This is a buy setup all the way. You want buy setups in Pound Oz. So you're just looking for pullbacks now at this point. You're coming up against a structure. You're looking for bullish setups to take. So you can drop down to the 8-hour chart. You're looking to take a bullish oversold 34B on the 8-hour chart. Pound CAD. Same thing. You're ripping. You're ripping on up. You're going to continue, but you don't want to buy this. You're not selling it. You're looking for pullbacks. Pound Swiss. All right. We were all over this pound Swiss move. It just made one more low. Now here's an example where it did not work out. You have an impulse up right here off of your quarterly S2, and then you have a 1, 2, 3 wave structure down, double top. Right here, it fails. All right, now I got a failed 200 with a potential 3 wave structure coming off my quarterly S2, and then that fails. So here's a trade setup that I would be licking my chops to get and feeling very confident that this thing's going to explode and it winds up making one more lower low and then sets up to go. All right, and we're on the daily chart. So it's just, you got to just manage risk. You got to take all the setups that are there and just manage risk. There's nothing to do right now. You don't have a sell setup. You don't have a buy setup. Pound yen, you don't have a sell setup or a buy setup. Pound New Zealand, you're getting a buy setup. You're getting a double bottom off the 200. This is that's probably an 8-hour double bottom, but you're looking for buy setups, right? If you want to wait for something on the 8-hour chart to set up, you can go ahead and do that. You're actually inside of a buy setup right now. You're bouncing off your 200, and your 3-day chart is bullish. Oversold, bouncing off your 89. This is a buy setup in Pound New Zealand. And again, you're just waiting for you got to give it room, because you want to see if you make a daily double bottom down here, right? You want to see any bearish close below here, you can go ahead and shut it down. So just manage your risk accordingly. This looks like a buy setup, right? Your higher time frames oversold, bouncing off a key EMA, bullish. You got a 200B right now. Give it room. It could play around and go. Pound ZAR, same thing as Euro ZAR. You're looking for buys all the way. So jump out to the weekly chart, and what do we have? 1, 2, 3 waves down. Impulse up, break structure, and you're down. So if you want to count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Weekly close above the 8. You go ahead and take this. Next move could be impulsive. You're oversold on the weekly chart. All right, 3-day chart. So you're bullish. This is a buy setup on the 3-day chart. Daily chart, and you're just waiting for a buy setup on the daily chart. You don't have one yet. 8-hour chart, and you could take an 8-hour 34B, all right, to find out if this weekly impulse is going to go. So you're getting a potential impulse up right here on Pound ZAR, NZD CAD. Nothing to do, right? It looks like let's measure this right here, pattern wise. Got a couple targets right here. So you're looking for a continuation up to 85.40 by pullbacks, but you could absolutely come after this high. So you want to buy pullbacks in NZD CAD. All right, 8-hour chart, you don't have any yet. So you had a 34B down here. You got a 21B right here. Wait for another 34B or something. Wait for a 3-wave correction, and then buy NZD Chief. So you're coming up against your quarterly R2 and your 3-day 200. Again, you don't have a sell setup. You don't have a buy setup. Could you pick a top up here if you want? You're coming up against your 3-day 200 and your quarterly R2. It's a great spot to look for a sell. So you just gotta wait for a sell setup. Wait for an 8-hour sell setup. Wait for a 4-hour sell setup. Wait for a sell setup. So you're coming up against a nice area to pick a sell. NZD yen, nothing to do. You are busting out of your quarterly R2. Quarterly R2. Nothing really to do right now. 3-day chart. Here's the daily chart, and you're up here, right? And that should about do it, right? The only other one I want to cover is dollar ZAR. Dollar ZAR. We look at this pattern right here. This is a great buy setup. You can go ahead and take a buy setup on a pattern. You're sitting on your quarterly S1, and I'll hide all these indicators, and you also have this potential pattern right here. So dollar ZAR looks like a nice buy right now to maybe it gives you this, but you're looking for this either way. You're looking for a move up. You're looking for buy setups. Jump down to the 8-hour chart. Put our EMAs back on, and you're looking for bullish setups. Again, what are we looking for? Any kind of failed double tops, right? If you get a double top, starts to fail, that's going to be a great buy setup on the 8-hour chart. Because when we look at this pattern wise, and your pattern wise and EMA wise, you're bullish. All right, there's a great buy setup for an impulse up to come retest these highs. Looking for an A, you're looking for a B, and then maybe a C down. Well, see if this wave breaks the high or not. If it breaks the high, then you're looking for a running flat. Step out to the weekly chart. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 swing sequence down to the 89. You're oversold. This is all correction. You're looking for an impulse up. All right, a big move in $R is coming. Just wait for an 8-hour 34B. Wait for an 8-hour oversold 34B. You can enter that trade. All right, and that's all I got. Do me a favor, give me a thumbs up if you like what I'm doing. Got any questions? Just leave me a comment, and I'll see you later.